Batman fans, do y'all smell that? Someone's cooking here. Because we just got a whole bunch of insane leaked images from the set of Clayface that give us not only our first look at Clayface, but some very interesting hints and teases on who the potential DCU Batman could end up being. And it might not be who you think. And you know me, if I get a little bit of crumbs, I'm gonna make a 10-star meal. Cause either way, me and you know what we gotta do. We gotta talk about it. And first things first, rest in peace, Uncle Phil. But for real, in case you've been making like Patrick Star and you've been living under a rock, the Clayface solo movie for the DC Universe has started filming today. Specifically, they started filming in Liverpool, which funny enough was also used in The Batman. The city and its architecture will be used as a backdrop for Gotham. We'll talk more about the possible connection to The Batman in a second. But we gotta talk about our first look at Clayface. Roll the damn image. So here we got our first look at Clayface in the Clayface solo movie, and I gotta say, why is bro clayed up to see me right now?
Gotcha, bitch!
But in all seriousness, here's our first official crazy head place. But in all seriousness, here's our first official look at Tom Harris, who's playing Matt Hagen's version of Clayface in this film. But not only that, we also got our first look at Tom in his full-on makeup look. And depending on how they choose to adapt which version of Clayface, this looks like it's I'll just call it post-incident, post-accident, post-injection. And I gotta keep it 8 more than 92 with you. This looks fire. And at first, I thought this movie was gonna be inspired by The Substance, given the fact that that's an actor struggling to get a role due to her appearance and all the freaky ass shit that happens in that movie. But now taking a look at this image, I'm starting to think that it's gonna have more inspiration from Darkman, Sam Raimi's Darkman, which by the way, if you have not seen, great motion picture, check that shit out. And along the ways, it'll probably take inspiration from other classic body horror flicks like The Thing, The Fly, and every fucking David Cronenberg movie ever. Before we proceed further into the Batman stuff, we gotta go back in time and give you just a quick little history lesson on the production for this film and who Clayface really is. And this all started with legendary horror writer-director Mike Flanagan pitching this Clayface idea to DC Studios of a low-budget horror flick centered around Clayface. Now, in case if you forgot or you were unfamiliar with the situation, there was a report by Deadline and a bunch of other trades that Clayface would be one of the villains in the Batman Part 2, dating all the way back to March 2023. And we got more context to that just earlier this year, claiming that Clayface was indeed planned to be a villain in the Batman Part 2. The idea then shifted to be a spin-off within the Batman universe, before ultimately turning into a DCU project titled Clayface. And that's why Matt Reeves is still attached as a producer. And Mike Flanagan talked about what inspired his script for Clayface. And it was the 2-time Feet of Clay episodes from the Batman animated series that gave heavy inspiration to Mike Flanagan's script. And if you know ball, you know ball. And not too long ago, James Gunn confirmed that Clayface is most likely going to be rated R. And not only will it have some social commentary on AI and deepfakes, but it was going to be drawing inspiration from some of the great body horrors and have a whole bunch of practical effects. And it seems like they're going all in because they hired Michael Marino, who did the makeup for not only A Different Man, but also turned Colin Farrell into the Penguin. So I can only imagine the type of freaky ass shit they're gonna have for this villain. Like, you just know some shit like this about to pop up on your screen and you're gonna look at it like, ugh, you are one ugly motherfucker. And to give you a quick history lesson on who Clayface is, dating all the way back to the Golden Era, Basil Carlo was a failed actor who decided to go have a personal vendetta against people and became a serial killer based on actual actors of the time. And funny enough, if we ever get this version in live action, Nick Cage would be a perfect choice. When we initially found out that Clayface was going to be in the Batman, most people assumed that it was going to be this version because it would be a lot more grounded, but then it would also be kind of retreading their serial killer route that we already had with the Riddler, so it didn't really make sense. And it led to a lot of people thinking that maybe he could start off like this and then turn into a giant clay monster. This Golden Age version of Basil Carlo actually most recently showed up in Batman the Caped Crusader animated series on Amazon, which was a spiritual successor to Batman the animated series. Next, I'll go with probably the most popular version of Clayface, and that's the animated Batman series Clayface. But this isn't Basil Carlo, this is Matt Hagen, who took a lot of inspiration from Basil Carlo in that he's an actor who gets horribly scarred in an accident and then takes a substance to try to fix his face and then becomes this giant clay monster. And in the comics, I believe Matt Hagen gets his powers from like some type of underwater chemical spillage or some shit. But regardless, these powers allow him to become the ultimate actor. To put him in a Spider-Man terms, he's kind of like a mix between Sandman and Mysterio, maybe even a little bit of Chameleon. All my real ball knowers remember Ethan Bennett from the Batman animated series. That's another version of Clayface that kind of undermines Harvey Dent because it's a very similar story in that he's a cop that Batman is friends with on the force, similar to Gordon, till he tragically turns into this version of Clayface. But it's also interesting because he has his own mask and doesn't realize Batman also has his own mask as Bruce. It's a fun, like, a little interesting dynamic. And if they wanted to do it in The Batman, fuck it. Let's have Officer Martinez become Clayface. But still, my favorite version from the same show is still the Basil Carlo version of Clayface. Just a straight up D1 menace, looking like Goro from Mortal Kombat. This is my Clayface. And the cast includes Tom Harris as Matt Hagen Clayface. And I'm unfamiliar with his game, but if he's able to beat out talented actors like this, you know he's gonna be solid. We also got one of my favorite actresses working today in Naomi Ackie in the lead actress role. Eddie Marson was seen on set, so that confirms his casting as well. Maybe he's playing one of the villains, because that motherfucker just look evil. And he kind of just farms all the villainous roles too, along with Max Minghella in a supporting role. role. And this is the description we have for the film so far from Nexus Point News. They're saying the character of Clayface in the film will be named Matt Hagen as an amalgamation of Hagen with Basil Carlo's backstory. Hagen is described as a handsome, up-and-coming actor in Gotham who's attacked and disfigured, which ruins his reputation, and he eventually turns into a shape-shifting monster. Hagen's love interest and co-star is Dr. Caitlin Bates, an OC who is the CEO of a biotech startup seeking to create cutting-edge and medical technology. She wants to grow her company and help him. She also has a fiance who is a detective and is suspicious of her and Matt's relationship. And the antagonist is a crime boss. I'm not gonna hold you. I really hope he becomes a giant clay monster and he fights Batman in the future. It is kind of crazy to think that they're doing a Batman villain before they do a Batman movie in the DCU. It feels very Sony Spider-Man villain with no Spider-Man coded. So I'm hoping and praying that we get our first some silhouette look, at least like from Creature Commandos, of the DCU Batman in this movie. We always talk about how we want to see Batman from the villain's perspective. This is your chance to do it. And while we're on the subject of Batman, the DCU Batman, and who's going to be James Gunn's Batman in the DC universe, it really should just be me, because I am vengeance, I am the knight, I am Batman. I am so sorry, my goat Kevin Conroy. But a lot of people have been noticing the props on set are a little different from the ones in the Batman, and some people are going as far as to say that this confirms that they are set in separate universes. But we're getting mixed signals here because even some of the newspapers look similar. One of the newspapers even mentions a new party drug called Bliss. I know some people are going to try to say like ignorant bliss is kind of like a mind state, but no, newspapers are known for putting these weird puns in their headlines. So that right there could potentially be a connection to the Penguin. And of course we got Jitter's Coffee, which was seen in both Superman and Peacemaker Season 2, where Kia works at, comfortably set in the DC universe. Now, one of the real kickers is what the GCPD looked like in Clayface. And here we got our first look at one of the officers on set. The funny thing is, it looks similar, but also different enough to the suits from the Batman to where they can keep it ambiguous. Now, I'm going to use my brain and be logical about this and not confirm nor deny whether this is actually set in the DC universe and the Batman universe will not merge. And you could also say that it was left ambiguous just in case they want to merge the Batman into the DCU. But I'm going to stick with the more logical option, and that's the fact that this was planned to be set in the Reeves verse, but then switched to the DCU, so some of the props didn't really have much time to change. Now, I'm also personally not going to close the door on him actually joining the DC universe or vice versa, because I'm not going to let little logo changes to set photos and videos and shit like that determine that. I'm just gonna wait for fucking James Gunn and Matt Reeves to confirm it themselves, even though they've kind of gone back and forth on it. Until we get the public and official confirmation, everything's up in the air. It is pointless fighting for one side or the other. What I'm more concerned with is what the fuck does that mean for this Clayface? We know he was voiced by Alan Tudyk, and I think James Gunn confirmed this might be a different Clayface. So we got both Basil, Matt Hagen in this universe already. Because I'm pretty sure he got packed up in the Creature Commando show. But also, like, why the fuck did Clayface, why would he be working for fucking what's her name and playing video? Like, this was just kind of out there. Like, bro, I can't believe this is way more fucked up than what Batman got going on. I deserve answers and I have a right to know. But regardless, that's all the new news and updates we got for the Clayface movie, the Batman potentially merging and not merging. Let me know what you think about my thoughts, theories, and opinions down in the comments below. And as always, like and follow for more.